Thank you for staying tuned, and thank you for joining us on Insight on Citizen FM 93.7. My name is Lawrence Umotte. On Insight today, we will be looking at setting agenda for the new administration, curbing corrupt practice. That's going to be our focus today. Well, it's an open secret that corrupt practices pervades the polity, almost every sphere of our national life. Nigeria came 150 out of 180 countries in the 2022 rankings released early this year. And a lot of people are on this page that no country is immune to corruption and corrupt practice. The abuse of public office for private gains erodes public trust in government and institutions. It also makes public policies less effective. It also siphons taxpayers' money away from schools, roads, hospitals, and other infrastructure. While the wasted money is important, the cost is about much more. Corruption corrodes the government's ability to help grow the economy in a way that benefits all citizens. But the political will to build strong and transparent institutions can turn the tide against corruption. And so, what does the president-elect say about corruption? Well, from what we garnered, at least during his campaign tour across the country, the president-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is a former two-term governor of Lagos State, throughout this period of campaign insisted that he would ride on the achievements of President Muhammad Buhari to fight corruption by focusing more on preventive measures if elected. He also said he would be putting a system for effective wealth redistribution to reduce the temptation to commit corruption. Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration is also saying that it will support existing anti-corruption institutions and also address the underlying issues of corruption in the oil industry and so many other things that were said during the campaign. So that's what we are going to look at today. You can be part of this program by joining our live stream on YouTube. You can type in Citizen FM 93.7 and you will be part of the show. Our social media platforms are also there. On Facebook, you can join us at Citizen FM Abuja. Also on Instagram at Citizen FM 937. And that's the same on Twitter at Citizen FM 937. My guest is Vika Ogwafo. He is a legal practitioner. Thank you so much for joining us on Inside, Vika.
Thank you so much for having me, Mr. Lawrence.
It's a pleasure to have you again after almost a year, or even more than a year, that you made your debut on this program.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so Vika is going to help us understand some issues that have to do with corrupt practices and how the next administration may decide to tackle this issue. They have our mark. We will open our phone lines at 10:30, and then we will let you know the numbers. But for now, you can make use of our social media platforms if you have anything to go. So Vika, let's just start this way. It's been 8 years of this, well, almost 8 years of this administration. How would you assess the government's treatment of corruption?
So I'll answer that in 2 ways. To my mind, I think there are 2 ways to effectively and efficiently address corruption. The first way is enacting requisite laws. And then the second way is following up and executing those laws you've implemented or put in motion. I think the government so far, they've done a very good work in enacting anti-corruption laws. I mean, we have the ICPC Act, we have the EFCC Act. But then the second part of that process is how effective has the implementation process been? And I think we can reasonably come to the conclusion that there are a lot of lapses here and there. So I'll give that a decent 50%. The government has done decently in effecting the requisite laws to address corruption, but implementation, that's another question altogether.
Before we go further, is this a matter of perception or reality? You see, sometimes a lot of people, when we talk about fighting corruption, people look at it differently. People look at the perception, and some other people look at the reality on ground. Is the reality on ground different from the perception?
I agree with you. Perception is because how a lot of people perceive that corruption is targeted at. It's being played politics with. So a lot of people perceive that once you're not with the political party of the day, you will be targeted, which is very fair. So I believe that there's a lot of differences between perception and reality. But let me just jump in to say that in as much as there's the perception that people are being targeted when addressing politics, the reality is that a lot of groundwork is being done. If you ask questions on these relevant institutions, you see that a lot of groundwork is being done. A lot of monies are being recovered. It's just that a lot of this information is not put out there for the consumption of private individuals.
There are also others who believe that the Nigerian system is rigged in favor of corruption. It looks as if, as a nation, we are overwhelmed by the challenge of corruption.
Yes.
How huge a challenge is this for us?
It's huge. It's extremely huge. We've been dealing with the issue of corruption since independence. A lot of monies. Even the current administration is getting money from previous corrupt practices. So a lot of, and if you permit me, corrupt monies that were sent out of the country are being sent back to the country to run the administration. So it's really deep. It has eaten into the fabric of not just the political space, even in the business sector, in the economic space, in the social space. It's everywhere. It's everywhere.
To put it in perspective, what is the cost of corruption, or what's the cost of our inability as a nation to tackle corruption over a long period of time? What does it cost the nation?
The effects are far-reaching. Everyone would feel the effect of corruption at the end of the day. Both the person, the culprit, and so there's the victim and the perpetrators. Everyone, down to the average man on the streets, he would feel the effect. The political officers that are meant to use funds to do what they need to do, fix roads, put hospitals, if they don't do that, if they move monies to other places where those monies shouldn't be, they would feel the effect. Because when they need medical assistance, for example, they are forced or constrained to move out of the country to get these assistance, which could have been avoided if they had used the monies that were given to manage the resources and the projects that they should have done. So it gets to everyone. It gets to everyone. In colloquial language, you say the mud will touch everyone. It will touch everybody.
All right. If you're just joining us, it's Insight on Citizen FM 93.7, and my guest is Vika Oguafo, who is a legal practitioner, and we are looking at a challenge for the next administration in terms of curbing corrupt practice. We will take a short break now, and when we return, Insight will continue.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. We'll be right.
Yeah, let's look at the anti-corruption agencies. We have a few of them, apart from the Nigerian police, which is traditionally saddled with some of these issues. We also have the EFCC, the ICPC, and some others also. How has this, the creation of these agencies, you are a lawyer, how has it determined or affected the mix in terms of fighting corruption?
So just let me say before time that these agencies, they're doing they're very much best, the best of their abilities to try and curb corruption. But I think a bulk of the problem comes from the fact that there's no independence. So a bulk of these institutions are still being controlled. So that more or less affects the way they are able to do their job, right? So once there's interference from X, Y, Z parties or parts of the country, these institutions would not be able to effectively address corruption, which is what we've seen in times past, where the political power of the day orchestrates these bodies to go after select individuals as against going after people who have actually violated their laws in place.
And that naturally brings us to the National Assembly, which is saddled as part of its responsibility, apart from lawmaking.
Yep.
You also have the role of oversight.
Yes.
Of the agencies in the executive arm of government. Over the years, we've seen probes, reports of probes, investigations, and everything. Has this created any impact in the fight?
I don't think so, because so there's a concept in law that says he who comes in equity must come with clean hands, and you cannot chastise someone for doing a thing if you are in fact guilty of that thing. So I think I'll leave it at there, right? So a bulk of the reason why these probings or these probations are not 100% effective is because the people that are quote unquote carrying out these probations are in themselves not clean of these laws. So a bulk of them are even the ones orchestrating the corruption, quote unquote. And I mean, in law, he who comes to equity must come with clean hands. So there's a lot of dilemma in that regard. A lot of dilemma in that regard.
And you see, when we talk about these issues, most of the time we're tempted to focus on the federal government, even at the state level.
Yes.
And the question is, how do we get the citizens to hold government to account, to hold their leaders to account? What are the practical steps? Because these are where we should start from. What are the practical steps that we can take as citizens?
Okay, so I feel information is power, right? If you know what you don't know, you cannot effect. It will surprise you to know that a bulk of Nigerians don't even know that they are meant to actively engage in politics, that they have a right to recall or hold their political officers accountable. So I think the most practical way of curbing corruption from the citizen level is, first of all, people should know that they have these rights. And once they know that they have these rights, they should now know how to effect or carry out these rights and responsibilities in holding their in holding their political officers accountable. I think that's the most practical way of ensuring that everyone's hand is on deck with regards to holding political officers accountable.
We also need to factor in the issue of poverty and hunger, because sometimes we hear this phrase that poverty has been weaponized.
Yes.
And people tend to, somebody who needs food or who is hungry may not be able to stand.
Push their rights.
Yes.
I completely agree with that. I completely agree. And that's why the issue of stomach infrastructure is still a very effective way of getting people to jump in politics. Like we had seen in the past election, the stomach infrastructure policy was used actively to actually sway people to exercise their rights, which they should have ordinarily exercised without, inducing them with food, more or less. So that is the factor. The real question, which I think I'll throw back to you, is how can we effectively address this poverty? Because it would surprise you. I think as at last year, Nigeria was described as the poverty capital of the world. With countries like India and a few other countries. So the question is, how can we effectively address poverty in Nigeria? The answer to that, it's invisible. It's really invisible.
We shouldn't throw up our hands in despair, should we?
No, I agree with you. We shouldn't. All hands should be on deck, and that's why I appreciate people, that they believe in Africa entrepreneurship. For example, Tony Lumolo is doing so much in trying to empower the average Nigerian to be able to do business, to empower other people that will have a multiplier effect on the economy. And we need more of those people to do that, so that at the end of the day, the wealth is distributed equally amongst all Nigerians, and then to a large extent, poverty can be addressed.
Vika, thank God you brought that, the issue of distribution of wealth. Now, one of the things that we see amongst public officers, sometimes obscene display of extravagance by some of these leaders. And a lot of people will now have this impression that, once you get into government, you are made.
Yes. It is sad reality. It is sad reality. And I think, like I said, information is power. It would surprise you that the bulk of our political officers do not know that there are repercussions for, one, embezzling funds, two, using monies that should have been used for public projects for personal needs. And I think once they don't know this, they don't know that there are repercussions for their actions, and so they are more than free to do what they need to do, when they need to do it, and how they want to do it. And that's why you see in times past political people that hold political offices slapping people in public because they don't know that they shouldn't be doing that. They don't know that there are repercussions for doing this. They don't know that they have a responsibility to the person that they are maltreating. So it's a sad reality, and I think until we can consistently educate people on what needs to be done, we would still be where we are, sadly.
All right, yes, it's still Insight on Citizen FM 93.7, and on the agenda today, the focus is curbing corrupt practice ahead of next government that we expect in the next 13 days or thereabouts. And my guest is Victor Oguafo, who is a legal practitioner, and he's been trying to help us make sense of a lot of issues around this. We will continue, Insight will continue after the short break again. Please don't go away.
Back. Stay tuned. We'll be right 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 back.
stream if you've not done so on YouTube. Type in Citizen FM 93.7, and you can also join our social media platforms: Facebook at Citizen FM Abuja, on Instagram Citizen FM 937, and also Twitter at Citizen FM 937. And the phone lines are open now. You can call us on 0903 2229797. That's 0903 2229797. You can also call us on 0818 22. Okay, we have a caller here. Let's see. Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Please, can you speak up?
Are you hearing me now?
But you're still faint. Can you speak up, please?
Let me come back.
Oh, okay. We lost that. The numbers again: 0818 2222205. Or you can call us on 0818 2222206. Any of those numbers. You can also send us a WhatsApp message and let's talk. Just let us know where you're writing in from, and we will be able to respond. And don't forget that our live stream on YouTube is still active. Type in Citizen FM 93.7, and also the social media platforms. In case you don't want to call, you can send us a message on Facebook at Citizen FM Abuja, and also on Instagram at Citizen FM 937, and on Twitter at Citizen FM. Okay, Ido is calling back. Hello, Ido. Hello. ID, you're on. Hello. ID, go ahead.
Okay. In fighting corruption, I think we need our country, as long as the judiciary now, I think we'll get anywhere. Because they are the very people that used to advise their clients on what to say, how to go about the whole thing. They'll be looking for technical matters, and if they're able to get one, they'll use that one to knock off the case. And we are saying we are fighting corruption. If you still have the judiciary the way they are now, sorry to say, with due respect, the lawyers and the judges, they are going nowhere. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ID. Because you heard him.
So I understand he's speaking from a place, maybe he's been a victim of the system,
Okay.
but I want to bifurcate between the bar and the bench, because he said judges and lawyers. I mean, he threw everyone under the bus. But just to clarify, right? There's a difference between the bar and the bench, right?
Yes,
the judges and lawyers don't work together to defraud people. I don't want you to have that mindset, right? The judges, which is the bench, they do their work. They play the role of a neutral third party, and they try to decide cases based on facts presented to them. Now, the question as to whether or not your lawyer now does a good job presenting those facts is another issue. So you cannot necessarily, and it's really sad, because which I think that we need to modify our laws, which we are doing, to remove technicalities as against focus on substantial justice. Because before now, once you have technicalities, your matter will most likely be thrown out of the court. But again, the perspective I want to draw out is, if it's just like every professional, once a professional has been paid to do his work, he tries as much as possible to execute that work to the best of his knowledge. Whether that be technical or substantially dealing with the issue, is now left to open jurisprudence. So you cannot necessarily now say that the judiciary has failed or we are not going anywhere if a lawyer is just good in doing his work. Because don't forget, the first thing I said is, a judge is only constrained to give judgment based on the facts given to him. He cannot go elsewhere. He cannot jump into the case you're handling. He cannot even help you, even though he knows the true facts of the case. So it's a very funny process. But I just want to point out to the last caller that gradually the system is moving from focus on technical justice to substantial justice. So you can rest assured that's the fact.
Okay, because since the issue of judiciary has cropped up, let's stay on that now. Apart from what you've spoken about, there are also some challenges in the whole judiciary as an arm of government. The court environment, the use of technology, the backlog of cases, huge number of cases to be dispensed with by few judges and everything. All these are a huge challenge that may impede justice at the end of the day.
I agree with you 100%. And that is why in the last few months, or no, last few years rather, a lot of effort has been pushed into embracing full-time technology to help ease the system of legal administration. A lot of efforts have also been driven towards getting more judges on deck to help ease the workload that's currently in the judicial system. So what I can say is that more work is being done in that regard, right? And hopefully after the effluxion of the Election Petition Tribunal, we'll begin to see some of the benefits of the work that's been done. So I think that's it for me.
Okay, still staying with technology, but this time, if you were to be part of the team that would advise the incoming administration, how do we use technology in tackling corruption, for example, in the civil service?
Okay, so what I can say, how to use technology in tackling corruption in civil service. So this is, I'd like to say, this is not my area of expertise, for one. But what I can suggest is we can use technology, AI, for example, to ensure transparency in corrupt practices. So for example, everyone knows that both EFCC and IPC recover huge sums of money year in, year out. But then we have no idea as to what is being recovered and where these monies are being channeled back into. We just don't have money. So every year we hear EFCC recovered X billion dollars from X number of people, but we have no idea where this money is being going to. So I think in that regard, technology, Internet of Things, big data, these systems can be adopted to ensure that everyone has an idea of what is going on, what has been done, where the institution is coming from, where they currently are, and where they are moving. I don't know if that addresses your question.
Yes.
So that's why I think that's how we can adopt technology to help and ease corruption reporting in Nigeria. And in addition to that, I think we should have a more sophisticated whistleblowing process, because I know at the moment you have to send an email, then the body will now ask you who you are, what you do, how you knew of this. They ask a lot of questions that more or less truncates the process, right? I think again we can adopt technology in the sense that Mr. A, that is probably in somewhere in Ububra, can have knowledge about funds being embezzled and send in, or whistleblow on the selected individual, and it's just taken from there and being dealt with expeditiously. So that's also another way I think we can adopt technology to address corruption in Nigeria.
All right, the numbers are still open, the phone lines are still open. You can call us on 0903 2229 797. That's 0903 2229 797. Or you can call us on 0818 2222205. In the alternative, you can call us on the third number 0818 222206. Any of these numbers, you can call us and let's talk. My guest is Victor Oguafo. He is a legal practitioner here in Abuja, and we are looking at curbing corrupt practice as the new administration heads into office in less than 2 weeks from now. Vika, let's also address some other issues. One of them is when we talk about tackling corruption, a lot of people, sociologists, psychologists, have maybe segmented corruption into different types, from corruption that is occasioned by need to corruption occasioned by greed, to what some people have called the psychopathic people who steal or embezzle some kind of money that you don't need
cannot explain.
Explain.
Generational.
Generational. So an incoming government, which one would be easier to deal with, or the first to deal with?
So I can speak for the sociologists or the psychologists and why they want to more or less divide or define types of corruption. But what I can say is what is bad is bad. If it's black, it's black. If it's white, it's white. Let's call it a spade, right? Once we're able to establish that first premise, right? Once you have done something that flouts an existing law or regulation, that is wrong in itself. It's black. And it should be treated accordingly. There should not be exceptions. There shouldn't be. There should be a quantum of punishment given. So, for example, if someone stole based on need, like there's ample evidence to suggest that this person stole because he needs it, like he would not survive without it, then the quantum of damages or compensation or punishment may come in. And then if someone steals for no reason, then of course his punishment should be higher. So I just feel everyone should be punished, but where justice should now step in is the quantum of punishment that should be allocated to each individual per circumstance of their peculiar cases.
And you know that we are a very religious country, highly traditional.
Extremely.
Do we think of involving traditional and religious system in this campaign?
So up until now, the systems have been regulated or more or less handheld by religion and tradition. And I think the question we should all ask is, how effective has this been? There's a popular quote that says, religion is the opium of the people. You can use religion to control people. And whilst I'm an extremely religious person and I feel religion is very essential to an existence of mankind, I think we should try to remove traditions and religion from things that are morally wrong and correct. So if it's wrong, like I said, it is essentially wrong. If it's right, then it is right. Regardless of whether or not you're Muslim, Christian, you're a traditional worshipper, or you believe in the existence of certain customs. At the essence of every human being, God has given us the ability to identify what is wrong and what is good. That's why we all have a conscience. And once we've gone beyond what we've instituted from our conscience, then I think attendant punishments should follow suit.
All right. We are gradually winding down. 10 minutes to go. The numbers are still open. You can call us on 0903 2229797, or you can call us on 0818 2222205 or 0818 2222206. Curbing corruption, a challenge ahead for the next administration. What do we do? And my guest has been helping us to make sense of the situation. His name is Viga Ogafo, who is a legal practitioner. Viga, let's look at, you are a lawyer, although you told me just a while ago that you are no longer in litigation, but a lawyer is a lawyer.
Yeah.
What's the place of plea bargain in fighting corruption?
So I think it's very essential, extremely essential, because it more or less, you just some seconds ago you had complained of how the court systems are overburdened. So if someone who has been alleged to commit a crime is more than willing to confess and even give up portions of the proceeds of crime, I think it's very fair. It's only fair because it expedites the court process. Plea bargaining, where an accused person has agreed to plea bargain, it makes the process very easy. In less than a month, they've sorted it out, and it reduces the workload on the court. So I think it's a welcome development. I even think there should be conversation. We should start having boarding conversations around plea bargaining, how to make it more effective, so that once you're caught and you're willing to drop proceeds of it and even indict for other people, there should be a way around it. I now think the conversation will now also further transition to what kind of punishment would now accrue where an accused person has opted for the option of plea bargain.
Yes, I was coming to that because the controversy has always been, sometimes it ends up as a slap in the wrist.
Yeah.
Somebody is accused of embezzling 500 million naira and the state recovers 10 million naira from the person, and it works.
I mean, you and I know that that is not a fair punishment for a crime that grievous. But then again, we need to maybe, just maybe, we need to have more laws in this light. That more or less provides a difference on the amount of punishment you get for the crimes that you've committed. I think if we have that clarity, then everybody knows that we have a codified law that says either you do this or you do that. Because I think largely because it's left at discretion of the courts, it's open to a lot of misinterpretations and favoritisms, etc., etc. So I think there should be more codified laws that streamline what should happen where someone opts for the option of plea bargain.
Well, sometimes also we get there is this fear that when you fight corruption fights back.
True.
So what happens when corruption fights back?
And that is why transparency is essential. So going back to the topic of the day, how can the incoming government curb corruption? Like I said again, so I'll be drawing back things I've said in the past. He who comes to equity must come in clean hands. If the head is transparent, if the head has created room.
Okay, just a minute, please. I think who is back online. Hello, ID.
Sorry, please. I somehow disagree with our guest. We have enough laws. Only that people are not ready to fight this corruption. Corruption is destroying the country, and until we all rise up against this thing, we are going nowhere. Look at what you are just spoken about, plea bargain. That thing is challenging to me personally. You know that somebody has done something. If everybody is told and they say, okay, let us go for plea bargain, that's how you see this country will just be wrecked. Let's say 500, maybe 10 people stole 500 million each, and you say, okay, give us 20 million, go with 480, and all of them, everybody does that. See how much we'll be losing. So honestly, why is it so that in this country, people do evil and go away with it, but when they go overseas, look at what happened to this Madina. Look at what happened to Ebori. Look at how they are shielding Kyari from going to US to answer for his case. See, until we rise up against this thing, we are as I said before, we are going nowhere. We should know that one. And I know that there is a difference between the bench and the back. I know that one. But all I'm saying is that we are not sincere enough to fight this thing. And that is why the country is like this. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Idu. You want to respond to that?
Yes. I appreciate the intellectual discourse, right? And I think for me, while he has made a lot of solid points, I think foundationally at the foundation, he had said, and I quote, until we fight corruption, until we all rise up to fight corruption, we're going nowhere. I 100% agree with that. And like I said before, him who comes to equity must come with clean hands. Even the regular people you see on the streets are trying to defraud people. You go into a bank, they're trying to every left, right turn you take in Nigeria to either do business as an individual, there's someone there that's trying to defraud you of your hard-earned money. So at the end of the day, if we're pointing fingers at our leaders, the real question is, what are we doing in our individual spaces? So whilst I agree with you that we all need to rise up to fight corruption, the question is, it starts from home. What is the family as an institution saying? What are schools saying it there? Because it will shock you that even schools that are meant to bring up the next generation of leaders are not doing a very great job in that regard. So everyone is guilty of corruption. If we are very honest with ourselves, you see that everyone is guilty. And until we all get it right, we can't point fingers.
Okay. This last question, anytime the issue of corruption comes up, I always want to find out, is corruption a cultural issue or a structural one in this part of the world?
I think it started as a structural issue and now it's now cultural. So it has more or less, it's merged into the system, into our cultures, that an average person believes that being a politician is actually a job, a full-time job. They don't want to be a politician because of the work in there. They want to be a politician because they believe that they will benefit immensely from being a politician. So I think it first of all started as a structure, because it was the structures that the individuals in the said structures that started moving out funds that should not have moved out, and gradually it has watered down to the basic Nigerian on the streets. and it's now even inherent in some cultures. Because I won't. So with all respect to all cultures, there's a particular set of people that believe that funds, government funds, is for private use, right? And owning political office is more or less their rights. That would not have happened if it has not watered down to people's culture. So now people believe that owning political offices to enrich themselves is a right. Mm-hmm. So it started structurally, but it has affected us culturally.
And finally, Viga, what would you like to see from the next administration, say in the first 3 months of assuming office, in terms of fighting corruption?
Transparency. Transparency. Allow the body, the person who called and said, and like I had always said, we have a lot of laws. Enacting more laws to curb corruption is not a solution. It is implementing these laws that we need to focus on. And one of the fastest ways to ensure good execution and implementation is allowing for transparency. We need to know what you're doing. We need to know who you're prosecuting. We need to know how much you've recovered. We need to know what you're using these funds to do. We need to know how much you earn as an individual. It will surprise you to know that a lot of people don't know how much political leaders earn. It's not out there. So until everyone is transparent, then we know where we are and where we're going to. Transparency. And that's what I feel.
All right, I think we'll have to leave it at that, Viga Ogua, for legal practitioner. Thank you so much for your interventions on Insight. We really, really appreciate it. We hope it won't take more than another 1 year to get you back on Insight. Thank you so much, Viga.
Thank you so much for having me, Mr. Lawrence. I really appreciate it.
Well, that's our package on Insight today. The program returns tomorrow with another edition. My name is Lawrence Umotte. News on the Hour comes up next.